Hi, everyone. Welcome to this experience, this next piece of the Facebook Networking Challenge. As you know, I hope, I'm Kathryn Yarborough, and I am here today with Ginny Robertson. Hey, Ginny.
Hey, hi, everybody.
So I invited Ginny to have a conversation with me. I'm going to sort of interview her, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this whole experience with networking because I have known Ginny since around 2001 when I started my business in Maryland. And Ginny has been showing up since before then, since like 1999 or 2000, and helping us women network. And I know that we've got some guys here, which is great, but her focus has been with working with women. And she's been helping people network and build relationships. And she has been showing up no matter what consistently since that time. I have learned so much from her in terms of how to show up, as well as how to actually network in a way that works for me. So she is brilliant, she is caring, and she wants to support us women in particular in building relationships around the globe. So Ginny, would you like to just say briefly why you said yes to this opportunity?
Oh, to your opportunity or to just my life opportunity? It might take a bit longer, yeah.
This opportunity.
Well, yes, Catherine, thank you. I think you and I have a mutual admiration society. So when you show up and ask me to do something, I'm usually excited about it. And I think when I ask you to do something, you're excited about it. And you and I always have fun. And I've been really enjoying your networking challenge because it's brought up a whole lot of other information for me. I'm not as skilled at online networking as I want to be. My thing is more in-person stuff. So I said yes because I also think that even after 17 years of doing this, I still don't think it's the sort of norm out there, the way we network at on-purpose networking. I don't think it's the norm, and I would like more women especially to understand that it doesn't have to be hard, it doesn't have to be stressful, it doesn't have to feel inauthentic. And so I wanted to have an opportunity to share that with everyone.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm just going to go a little off my script here, but when you say it's not the norm, what do you mean by that?
Well, my experience of networking, and I started networking more when I was a corporate employee. So I would show up armed with my business cards, and I just had to show that we were there, that we had a presence in the community. I wasn't looking for business. I was just looking to show up. But what I observed and what I saw other people doing, I thought was networking. And so when I started my own business, I knew how to network. And so I would go to, go to events. I would have my business cards in my pocket, and I would hand them out to anyone who was breathing. And I would take theirs. And that's pretty much all we would do. We wouldn't really have a lot of conversation. We would just pass out cards. I would go home. I would have a stack of cards, and I wouldn't have any idea what to do with them, because I didn't really know who I had connected with, because I hadn't really connected with anyone. I had a bunch of cards. So how do I call up? And remember, this is before the internet. So it wasn't like I could just email them. I had to call them and say, we met. But I couldn't even say that because I wasn't sure we had met. We had just exchanged cards. And I think that that's a stressful way to do it, but it's also not as productive as we might think. I would go home with a stack of cards thinking I had actually worked and had networked and had done something for my business. And it rarely, if ever, panned out. So I think that's still the way that most people do it out there in the world. I surround myself with a lot of people who don't, but every once in a while I'll show up at an event and I'll just observe, and I'll see everybody, trying to do their best to make sure they get their card in everyone's hand. And it's a numbers game. And I just don't think that works for us, especially as women. I think it's counterintuitive to how we actually connect with each other.
And just to interject, I think that what we've experienced on Facebook in the groups where people just go and post their link to their thing, it's the similar experience for me as the handing out of the card. I might see it if I go in that group, but it's not effective. And
Right.
when I've done it, it hasn't been effective. So what is the thing that I know what it is, but I wanted you to speak about your perspective and what you're sharing with the world about how to network.
Okay. My perspective is first to show up and be real. Because I think what happened for me is that I looked around, especially when I started my business, and I thought everyone knows how to do this but me. Because they're all running around and they're doing their thing. And it seemed like everyone had a mask on, like we were all trying to show our most perfect selves. Our flaws weren't going to show. We were going to act like everything was going well and our business was just booming and all of this. I'm not suggesting that we show up at networking events and be downers and tell, oh no, I can't get any business and whine. But I'm talking about just showing up and not being afraid about telling somebody what we're really about. So the kind of questions I like to ask, I'll ask someone not what do you do, but why did you choose to do this? What about this do you really love? Or sometimes I'll just ask someone, how do you spend your day? And it's so interesting, the looks I get. What do you mean, how do I spend my day? Well, because that tells me who you are, not what you do. And how one thing that hasn't changed in marketing and advertising over the years is that people do business with people they know, like, and trust. That has not changed. And so an easy way to get people to know, like, and trust us is to start to show them who we really are. And the people who aren't comfortable with that aren't our people.
Mm-hmm.
That's at least in my humble opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's as simple as that. So what I want to do here, Ginny, and I'm sharing this with you again and with everybody who's listening, is this first set of questions is about you and about me. I want us to both answer as authentically and real as we can. The second group of questions is about our observations about about other people, the people in your network, the people, my clients, people who I'm seeing in the groups that I'm in. And not from a judging perspective, obviously, but from a place of, we've both been observing people for a while. So we're going to talk about that, and then from a networking perspective, and then we're going to, I'm going to look at some of the things that people posted in the Facebook networking challenge when I asked the question about what are your challenges with networking. So the first question, Ginny, I want you to be really honest here, and because I'm curious, right now, today, this month, why do you network?
I network. Well, one reason I network is because I have 9 of my own events that I go to. So I'm kind of called to show up. But the real honest answer is I network to make connections. I network to meet new, interesting people, to see if there might be a fit for what they do, for what I do. I would be untruthful if I said I network just to see how I can help other people. That's part of it, but I want to help me too. And so I do show up. I get excited about meeting women who are doing really cool, interesting things. Often I've never heard of things like that they're doing. And so it's really all about the connection piece. It didn't used to be, but it is now. We're going to talk about those other times, aren't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm going to answer the question. If anything else comes to you that you want to add after I share my thoughts, feel free to, about why you network. And okay, we'll do that with all of the questions. So the reason I network now is because I want clients. I mean, I would not, and it's been the whole time since 2001, Ginny, if I'm really being honest, I would not be networking. I'd probably be reading a book or something else if it weren't for the fact that I know that it helps me to, as you say, connect with those people who really are a good fit. Mm-hmm. It works. And I really appreciate that about networking, because you truly see if you get to know the people if you keep showing up for networking, and then you see if you like them. I don't like everybody, and they don't like me. Right. But we do connect with the ones that we do, and then we come to trust them, and then it's like it's easy, and people will say yes to me, and I'll say yes to other people, and it's cool. So I show up because I want clients and I want to have a thriving business. Mm-hmm. I do enjoy the connections, and I'm having fun building relationships with people because I've learned how to do that because of On Purpose and your work and what I've done in Facebook. And I like how the Facebook challenge is helping us do that, but I truly wouldn't do it if it wasn't if I didn't want clients.
Mhm. Well, I think for me, pardon me, sorry about that. I'm in a bit of a different, I guess, position because networking is my business as well as some of the other things that I do. And if I look back over my life, I have always networked. I just didn't know that's what it was called. So I've always been the person who can connect someone to someone else. Oh, you do that? Oh, I know somebody who needs that. Or it could just be, you know a book you should read, or I have this friend who can help you. So there's something in my brain that stores all that information and I can pull it out when I need it. I used to think it was just taking up useful space, but now I understand it's been there for a reason. And I've been doing that since I was a kid, I think. So it really is for me about the connection. I wouldn't network as much if I weren't also looking for clients, though. That would be, and I would probably be, just choosing the people I hang out with a little bit more if I was just going to go hang out. So,
Yeah, I admire your ability to remember people and what they do. Me, it takes a lot longer to make those brain connections. My brain is not built the same way. It is fascinating. I love that. All right. Well, so the next question is, if we're really honest, what are some of the challenges that you've experienced with networking? And let's move past all the things that happened early on, but now, do you have any challenges, either offline, in person, or online on Facebook or anywhere?
Okay. I do. And it always surprises new people when I tell them that I am an introvert, because I do extroverted behavior very well. I think I'm what they call a social introvert. But what this means is I am more comfortable alone. I am more comfortable in small groups. I am more comfortable managing my space and my energy. Doesn't mean I don't love being in groups, because, I can do a 2-day conference and to still be as up on Sunday night as I am. I used to work for a seminar company. I could do 5 days, but when it's over, I need to go away and I need to regroup for a while. So sometimes it's challenging for me to go to events that are not my own and to step in as a participant and to absorb the energy of people who are there and try to get the lay of the land. And I find myself trying to figure out, where do I fit in? Do I fit in? All the things I tell other people how to do, I can walk into a room and forget it all and stand there and feel like a wallflower that nobody has asked to dance.
All right, Ginny.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. So How do you handle that? What do you do?
I have to, sometimes I'll step back out and I'll take a couple of deep breaths and remind myself, why am I here? Because on my way to events, especially if I know they're going to be a really big event, and I don't tend to go to a lot of those, but sometimes they're being run by people I like, people I know I want to meet there. So I'll psych myself up in the car and I'll decide, what are my reasons for going? What is my intention? And my intention is usually, I'll tell myself, I want to connect with a couple of really cool new women who are a good fit for what I do. That takes the pressure off. I don't have to then, not take my own advice and feel like I have to connect with everyone in the room, that I have to have a conversation with everyone who runs up and gives me a business card. I don't. I can say thank you and move on. And so I have to just remind myself, you teach people this stuff, Ginny, use it.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to share, if we look at that from a Facebook perspective, and I've had clients who say this to me, and I have certainly felt it to a certain extent, that if you go into a large group with several thousand people, it can feel similar to that feeling of walking into a room with a large group of people and they're all talking, and how does a person actually get into it? And it's interesting. I think that when I decided to actually start networking in the Facebook groups, and to use what I had learned in the face-to-face networking with you and On Purpose, and I decided to translate that into the Facebook groups and to start to read people's posts and comment, that really helped shift that feeling of oh my God, nobody sees me. Nobody, I'm not going to get the clients, I feel overwhelmed. And what's fascinating to me, Ginny, is that experience translates to Facebook. It's different, but it's similar. And it's that, I don't fit in, nobody knows me, and I have the challenge of, I feel like I need to reach everybody. And that's, it's like I don't know where that comes from, that assumption that when I go to an in-person thing or a thing on Facebook that I should reach everybody. I mean, the only people who reach everybody are the keynote speakers, basically, and even then, not everybody's going to like what they have to say, but they at least they're going to be heard by everybody in the room. So I don't know. It's fascinating. So any other things you want to say about challenges that you've had?
Yeah, well, just to answer or comment on something you just said is, I don't know where that comes from, but I think it may have to do with like work ethic stuff that says, and the thing that's been passed down that says this is how you network, and it's a numbers game. And if you talk to 20 people, 10 of them will respond, 5 of them will like what you do, and 1 of them might sign up. So we've seen it as a numbers thing. So the more numbers, the more people that we connect with, the better chance we have of making a sale. The problem with that is, if we're connecting with 20 people that are not our people, then we don't have any chance of making a sale. We're connecting with 20 people who we haven't actually had any kind of, pre-thing with, no relationship, no small talk ahead of time to even gauge where people are. Then we're going to end up that 20-10-5-1 thing is going to be 20-0. And it's going to be just a big waste of our time. But worse than a waste of our time, we're going to feel bad about it. I used to go on from networking events and feel like I just wasted my time and money and beat myself up. Well, I didn't meet anybody who wanted what I have. I didn't get any business. And there's also this idea that we're supposed to get business at networking events or get business from just posting on Facebook.
Yes. So will you speak to that? Like, how do, from your perspective, have you ever felt that way? And what have you done with that even now? How do you deal with that? If I post, I should get clients, or if I go to an event, I should attract people. Like, how do you deal with that?
I have felt that way in the past, and especially in the early days when I was wanting to fill my live events, and I would go in and think, well, nobody told me they were coming. I wasn't looking at the connections I did make. I wasn't looking at the women who said, oh, that sounds really interesting, send me some information, but nobody committed. So to me, that wasn't real until somebody said, oh, I'm going to come to that next week. And so I didn't give myself credit for what I had done. And I think the same thing happens in online groups, because we also start to gauge. I told people what I did, and they said they liked it, but nobody said they wanted it. Well, that's because they liked it because it's interesting, or it resonated in some form, but there's more work to be done. We want to be lazy about it sometimes. I should put it out once, they should respond, they should come, it's a done deal. It's got to work. It's called networking for a reason. We've got to work at it. We've got to be consistent. Don't show up in a group every time you have some event and then wonder why nobody knows who you are, because you haven't liked one thing or had one conversation with anybody in the group.
Yeah.
They ignore you probably.
Yeah. Hallelujah to that. And gosh, if everybody would just get this, everything that you just said, and not be disappointed when they post something once and it's not like, and what I'm looking forward to, I'm doing on February 9th, the Attract Clients on Facebook webinar. I think I'm going to call it 5 ways to attract clients. I'm going to talk about how to integrate what you're doing on Facebook with your entire business growing funnel, because this is just one piece. That one offer is one piece of this whole, the word that's coming to me is a machine. It's a marketing machine, a system that we all need to develop and then keep doing it, keep showing up and networking. So I had an aha though earlier, and I want to share it with you. So when you were saying about the numbers thing, Ginny, and maybe that was one of the reasons why people feel like when they go into a large group, whether it's in person or on Facebook, that they should reach everybody. And I realized when you were talking about the numbers that particular teaching was not something that was part of my training. I did read about it, hear about it, but it didn't land in me. And my aha was that for years, I see myself speaking in front of groups of several hundred people. And I realized that it's possible that for me, that feeling of wanting to touch everybody is actually that a part of me needs to do this. A part of me does need to touch everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And which is different than networking. So it's getting that discernment and not feeling like when I go into a large group at that moment in time, I need to touch everybody. Because I'm really there just to meet one or two people and get to know one or two people. So I just had a transformational experience.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And to just add to that, we can touch everyone in one way or another. They don't have to touch us back. And so if we go into something with an expectation of the outcome, and that's another thing that I realized I was being disappointed. I would go in with an expectation, not just of what might happen, but how people would be, how they would be with me, who I might meet, blah, blah, blah. And the expectation was never met because I had no control over those things. And so I think that this idea that I'm going to go in and just attract and connect with some really cool, like-minded women, that takes all the pressure off. And then that makes me more attractive to those women rather than, how you feel when you're at an event and people are running around doing that frantic, passing out cards. It feels desperate, and desperate energy is not attractive. And not everyone knows what they're feeling, but they know they're not comfortable with it. And so they'll avoid you. They'll walk away, and you don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm. So coming back to me, and let's see if there's anything in terms of challenges that we haven't identified. And I want to come specifically to Facebook, since this is part of the Facebook Networking Challenge. On Facebook and in groups, have you had any challenges that we have not yet identified that would be useful to share? Anything for yourself?
Well, I run a large group, and that was a big learning to, try to have everyone do it the way I wanted them to, because I knew the best way to do this, and they should all get on board and do this. And initially, without any management of a group, as you know, it turns into a sales billboard, very boring, post after post after post, and nobody wants to come and see that. So I had to start to make some adjustments to that and put some guidelines in, which you're so good at pointing out, that each group has their own guidelines and rules. But I started to notice how I felt when I went into other groups and tried to participate at whatever level. Some rules resonated with me, some didn't. And so I realized that if I'm feeling this way, other people are probably feeling this way too. So I think one of my challenges, though, as just being a member of groups, is to actually, I know on your 21-day challenge in that group that people were talking about they were in too many groups. And I have pared my groups way down, but I also know that I'm still in too many. There are groups that I never go to. And so why are they still there? They're just there to remind me that I'm not doing it. And I don't want to be reminded that I'm not doing it because I'm still not going to do it. It just makes me feel bad. And so I think we need to really choose those groups that resonate with us and those groups that have people that we want to meet in them. So why go to a group just because your best friend's in it when there's nobody else in there that you resonate with? So I had to let go of a lot of those expectations, because otherwise, if I'm spending, your idea is to spend 20 minutes a day, but if you've got 20 groups that you're trying to go to, unless you're doing multi-posting stuff, which I don't allow in my groups, where you can, just hit a button and it goes into all the groups, that means you never show up in the group. So you're not participating. So unless you're doing that, there's no way, unless you're spending half a day on Facebook, that you're able to connect. Because I think the thing that bothers me the most about groups in Facebook is when I comment and nobody responds. And I'm guilty of that myself sometimes, because I'll miss the notification or I won't get back to that page. But as soon as you start doing, commenting, and then somebody else comments and you don't respond, or they ask a question, then you've just sliced yourself off again. So once you commit to a group, you have to really be there and you have to be vigilant with it, or else it's just another distraction, which Facebook is full of.
Yeah, that is for sure. Yeah. Yeah. So my recommendation is 30 minutes
Mm-hmm.
and not necessarily a day unless you want to do it every day, but somewhere between 3 and 5 times a week. Of course, 7 is fine with everybody, but 30 minutes and then approximately 5 groups is about what I'm able to do. And
you find you can connect to the way that you feel is good for you in about 30 minutes in 5 different groups every day. That's working.
Well, some of the groups there isn't as much connecting. So
Right.
most probably, so I just go in there that they take about 5 minutes, but there's still groups that I want to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then other groups, it's more like 10 or 15 minutes. And of course, managing my own groups, I take time to do that as well. So that's a little different, but I think that we can all decide. So if you want to spend less time, then it's 1 or 2 groups, and you follow 1 or 2 groups. If you want to spend more time, yeah, you need more time. But that is definitely the biggest challenge. But thank you also for pointing out that it's really important that we find the groups that we want to be in, and that's useful.
If I could add one more thing, I think that I've had people say to me, "You must spend all day on Facebook." And I say, no, it just looks like I do, because I am good at going in and I've got a certain routine that I do and certain things that I do every day. So I think if you can discipline yourself to some way to know what you're going to do, set a timer, you won't find yourself, 2 hours later having looked at 30 kitty pictures, or cat videos, unless you really want to. If that's what you really want to do, then do it. But don't then think that you didn't get any business because you were out there networking and nobody paid any attention to you. You can be disciplined yet have a large presence on Facebook, I do believe.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you do have to be disciplined. I would agree with that. So I'm just trying to think, for me, what are the challenges with Facebook networking? And I think I think that I want, if I'm really real, when I go into groups, I want people to like totally respond positively to whatever I post. And so that's one of the challenges, and to create effective posts that will move, that will be right. So I guess I have a little bit, and I know I see it in other people, but I have a little bit of that. Gosh, I want it to be right and perfect, and have it actually be something that ultimately leads to attracting clients. So I think I'm in a transition with that, where I'm more and more letting go of that. I think that I should have all of my posts planned out, like in the different groups, Tuesday tips are in some, and like I have Wednesday wisdom, and Thursday my stuff, and some groups are Monday, whatever, so every day in different groups you can depending on the group, you can post your thing. And I feel like I should have it all planned out and have it all figured out so it's more streamlined. And maybe I'll do that, but I also think that it's effective when I'm really authentic, and I go in and that day, well, what's my tip for today? What's coming through that I've figured out in the last 24 to 48 hours? And I think that when I'm more authentic, they're effective, but not necessarily as professional as the ones who've planned it through. And I guess that's probably really more of what I want to do, because I want to be me, and I want to be authentic. So you can hear that I'm still in the process.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that, and I think when you first said, you think that you should have everything lined up ahead of time. My first thought was that starts to then feel very canned, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the only difference is you're not, scheduling them ahead of time and having them automatically post. And so I think there may be some, if I have a great idea and I think, oh, I'm going to post that, keep a file of things that you want to post down the road, but you don't have to do it on a particular day. I do like the idea of showing up and saying, how am I feeling right now? What do I need to say right now? And for me, the more polished posts are a little more dull. It's like, and I read the same one every week, from the same person. So I would like a little more personality. I'm going to work on doing more of that myself. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, agreed. All right. Well, so now we're going to shift into some observations about other people. And since my audience is heart-based entrepreneurs, my question to you, Ginny, is do you think heart-based entrepreneurs should network either on Facebook or in person? Why or why not?
Of course they should. Unless they have some other magical way of meeting people and getting new business. I think it's often more challenging for heart-based entrepreneurs to network. And being one of those, I think the reason it may be more challenging is this idea that, if I'm coming from my heart, like what if I walk into a room and I'm the only one coming from my heart and everybody else is coming from their head? And it's like, that's okay. I don't have to change how I'm doing to be in the group. I used to think I did. I used to think I would have to, I was a member of a large chamber and I would walk in and it was a sea of suits, and I had left a sea of suits for very good reasons. My people weren't there, yet I felt like I had to adjust who I was to fit into this group. And the truth is there was really no business for me to be had there because my people weren't there. And so if you spend a lot of time molding yourself to fit whatever group you feel like you should be going to, it's again very it's a disservice to yourself, and you're probably not going to get anything from it at all. And so I think heart-based centered entrepreneurs really do need to network, but you may need to really go around and practice, see where you feel like you fit, see where you walk in and go, oh, this feels good, I feel like I'm at home here, these are my people, or oh, I think I have to kind of censor myself a bit. Maybe I won't tell them I do this. Maybe I'll put it this way instead. Because I think that we need to have that one clear message that we use, and we shouldn't have to change it to fit into certain groups. Because what I found is if I'm not being real, but somebody wants what I have, they want what I have from the not real me. Mm-hmm. And we're going to both be in trouble if they come in as a client, because they're going to be disappointed because that's not really me, and me is going to show up, or I'm going to have a miserable time because there's no resonance there. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I love everything that you just said. It makes total sense to me. And what I want to do before I answer is I want to come back. I want to take a couple of minutes to share with people about you and the opportunities that they have with you and your community, because I don't want to wait till the end to do that. So I'm going to speak about it from my perspective, because I think that lands sometimes better, because I'm so enthusiastic. So first of all, if you are in Maryland or anywhere near there, connect with Ginny and try out one of her networking meetings and see how it is for you. Bottom line, and just see. Of course, the only way you're going to see if it's beneficial is if you keep showing up. So once you've tried out one, I say commit to 6 months to a year, probably a year, because I think you have a year membership these days, and give it and keep showing up. Second thing is the On Purpose Woman Conference, which is in October. I have gone to all but one in the last 5 years. I guess this coming year is the sixth one. Put it on your calendar. If you can fly to it, fly to it. I fly to it from Florida. It is a great place to connect with people and learn some stuff and have a wonderful experience. So Ginny, what are the dates of that On Purpose Woman Conference?
The On Purpose Woman Conference is the evening of October 13th, which is a Friday, and all day Saturday the 14th. And it is at the Conference Center at the Maritime Institute, which is near the Baltimore Washington International Airport. So it's really easy to get to from the airport, from the train, from light rail, from wherever you need to be, especially car. It's really easy to get to from car.
Mm-hmm. It is. So, and then there's a few other things. Ginny, I know that you are expanding your networking community and you're looking for other people to lead groups. Is that correct?
That is correct. The On Purpose Networking for Women group is almost 17 years old. Now, I'll need to mention here that I am changing the name, and it will be official in a few days, to the On Purpose Woman Community, because that really fits much better who we are and what we do. So I do have a large Facebook group that is now the On Purpose Networking for Women. So if you want to look it up that way. In another week or so, you can find it under On Purpose Woman Community. the expansion is really about, I want to reach more women. I want to give women more opportunities to learn how to do this work, learn how to network, learn how to inspire and affect other people. I can't be everywhere. I don't want to be everywhere. I want to sit back and watch the groups grow across the world, really. And so I'm offering opportunities for other women who want to have a conversation about what that might look like in their area, what they might want to learn from it, what they might need to grow from it. And there's opportunities to earn income. There's opportunities to promote yourself and lots of stuff. So we have 11 meetings now. We just started our first one in Virginia. So I'm now in another state. Yay. And I've got everything in place, I think, now to support women wherever they are in doing this. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah.
I think the first year I decided that this is what I wanted to do, but now I'm there doing it. So.
Oh, that's so exciting. And folks, Ginny and I have been talking about doing something online. And so I know that the last time we talked, and we didn't talk right before this call, is that I'm going to get to be a co-host with Ginny. Is that still on the table here?
Yes. It's going to be a live virtual networking. So that will serve a couple of purposes, I think. It'll give, because if you're a woman in California and you've never been to one of my meetings, how would you even know you wanted to talk about it? So you get an experience of just the energy and the kind of things that we do there. And it can also be a great place to practice without having to be face-to-face with people. Just come in and start to get your feet wet a little bit. And a great way to connect with women from all over the place and strengthen those connections. Because I see, I guess Facebook, online, virtual networking, in-person networking is kind of like this loop that one feeds the other, feeds the other. I don't think one alone is enough anymore. I think you really have to do a little bit, and depending on your business, but you really should do a little bit of all of it, because you just, for me, the local group, I have a group of just members who have joined the organization, and they say it's a great way to stay in touch and connect with people in between meetings. They don't lose that connection in between, or to get to know women at other locations they haven't been to yet. So I think the in-person and the online presence really helps to feed each other. Don't put all your stuff in one place, is my opinion.
So, Ginny, if people are interested in any of this and staying getting on your e-list so they can be informed, is there a best way to do that at this time, or should they just message you? Okay.
There's a couple of things they can do. One, if they want to talk or just have a conversation about the networking group and starting something, they can just Facebook message me. It's, I'm sure my contact information will be on there, but it's Ginny Presley, like Elvis Robertson. They can also, to look at the conference, last year's conference, they can go on the On Purpose Woman Conference, onpurposewomanconference.com, and see what we did last year, see who the speakers were, if they may be interested in talking about a speaking opportunity or an exhibiting opportunity. They can go on my website, which is jennyrobertson.com, and right on the first page there is a Join Our Community link. And they can put in their email, and then they can go on and check off the things they'd like to get information about. So those are the best ways right now. But message me on Facebook with any questions that you have.
Excellent. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So coming back to the purpose of this conversation, I want to share my thoughts about whether or not I think heart-based entrepreneurs should network or should not. And I have a little bit of a different answer than Ginny. As a coach for heart-based entrepreneurs, I recommend that we all have 1 to 3 ways that we are what I call feeding our funnel. And networking may be one of your ways that you invite people in to come to know, like, and trust you. I don't think that is what everyone should do, because it's not the best way for everyone. And I think it's really great if we each find one way that's our really best way. Now, having said that, I do believe that in general it is really helpful to have a network, even if it's not your way of moving people into your business growing funnel. So in general, I'm going to recommend that you do network, because it's useful to have the resources, the support, the people who you know, and who can help you at different times. If it turns out, and for most heart-based entrepreneurs, especially if you're a service If you're providing a service, then the networking and helping people come to know, like, and trust you will lead to you having clients. But again, you have to work. You have to discover what is your best way. In general, it's yes, but not always.
Okay, I get that. And I think also one thing to be helpful is to maybe change your relationship to the word networking. Because I think that also just sets up this, I don't like, because how many people in the challenge said, I don't like face-to-face networking. I find it inauthentic. I find it tedious. I find it scary. What if we just called it connecting? Does anybody ever say, I don't like connecting? Not many people. And so start to reframe what that is in your mind. I think that'll be helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yes, agreed. Absolutely. So in what ways over the years, Ginny, and this will help us reframe it, those of us who are challenged by this, in what ways over the years have you seen people benefit from networking in your community?
Wow. Connections first, and those connections then lead to clients, they lead to friends, they lead to other clients, because you don't know who somebody knows. And I think that's something I just want to add really quick here is don't discount people because you don't think they can help you. You don't know who people know. So somebody may decide, well, I don't think I'm ever going to use your service, but boy, I think my cousin sure could. And they may recommend that and refer you to their cousin. So just be open to those possibilities. One of the bigger things that comes out of a network is often the sisterhood, I guess, that a lot of women have told me. They maybe had sisters, didn't have sisters, didn't get along with their sisters, but they created the sisterhood. And what this means is somebody has a challenge in life. We've had a few people, in our group who've had cancer, who've been on their back for a while, and the network shows up, the network helps, the network sends a card, the network lets them know they're thinking of them. So if I can do that with the same people I do business with, isn't that wonderful? Or the same people I want to do business with. It doesn't have to be this or that. And I think that's the way it's been for a lot of years. These are my business people, and these are my personal people, and never the twain shall meet. So I think that's sort of a hidden benefit that we don't always know until we get into the right network as a benefit. The one thing I think I get most excited about watching women who come into my group are the women who may stand up at the first meeting and say, I'm not good at speaking, or I don't like this, I don't know what to say. And then to watch them sometimes 3 months, 6 months later, we cannot shut them up. They have blossomed, they've gained their confidence. And I think that can happen when you're in a group where you're comfortable, is that you will start to grow and blossom and step out more and be seen, because we have to be seen. You can go to a networking event and you can still hide out. It's very easy to do that. You can go sit with a bunch of people you already know and not meet anybody new. You can be quiet and just be interested in what everybody else is saying and not talk about yourself. But if you really go and you start to practice putting yourself out there, then it will also enhance your speaking skills and your listening skills and all the other things that will help us in business.
Thank you. I love all of those things. And I'm just going to add, I think, one more thing. For me personally, networking has benefited me because I have attracted clients, and I have people who will refer people to me or share about my events and my things, which means that those people can potentially be clients. As a coach for folks, I have wanted my clients to network on Facebook if they are going to be offering an event, a webinar, a challenge, a contest, because if they had a network before they did those things, then when they go to do it, they've either got people who are going to sign up, or they've got people who will then pass the message on to their people about it. So even though I did say before that it depends, on the home-based entrepreneur, whether or not they should network, in general, especially if you can work with people around the globe, I definitely think that networking on Facebook is very beneficial if you've got that network in terms of helping people know about you. So, and I see it, I see the people share things, and it makes a difference. So,
Can I just add something to that real quick?
yeah.
Um, I I think that there's a misconception sometimes, and I had this misconception when I started out. Now I feel like I was in the dark ages because when I started, I walked 3 miles to school in the snow. But I also didn't have the internet. And I remember, my first networking event, I printed up flyers and I put them on some bulletin boards and I did some stuff and I let some people know. And I just thought that means a lot of people are going to show up. Well, in my case, a lot of people did show up, but it wasn't because of any of those reasons. It was because of some previous connections I had made. And I had asked them to come and support me. Some of them never came to another meeting, but they came to support me. But so if we don't have a network in place, we have to reach out into these other places. Just because we build it, they do not come. We have to let as many people know as we can. And I think that, Facebook is an amazing place. I get a lot of people coming to my things when I do Facebook events. I do mostly local events, except for the conference, which brings people in from other places. But it's then just another way for people to see you. And I think this consistency thing is huge because, oh, wow, people will say to me, you're still doing those networking events. I'm like, 17 years later, I'm still doing those networking events. Oh, I think I'm going to come to one. Well, they've been getting my stuff for 15 years, but now it resonates. Mm-hmm. And so the consistency piece is also about people may not need what you have the moment they see it. But if they see it again and again and again, and you keep inviting them, one day they may go, oh, I'm ready for that now. And don't worry about inviting people to your events. I used to be concerned about, oh, I shouldn't invite, people on Facebook. I should only send 20 invitations because I don't want to offend anybody. If they get offended, they can opt out. Mm. So don't let that stop you. Of course, Facebook has put limits on now how many people we can sometimes invite people to. I've been put in Facebook jail a few times for that, but I just had to let go of that worry about offending by invitation. I'm never offended by an invitation. Are you, Kathryn?
No, I am never offended by an invitation.
Yeah.
I might sometimes go, why did that person ask me that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not offended. No. Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So cool. I appreciate that. And I'm feeling myself start to go, wow, this is a long conversation. So I just want to say, Ginny, I am loving this conversation, and I hope everyone who is listening in is getting some really good, juicy stuff out of this like I am. So we've got a few more things to cover that I want to cover. So hang in here with us if you're interested, and then we'll maybe wrap up in 10 or 15 minutes if it takes us that long. So are you doing good, Ginny?
I'm good. Yeah.
You can keep going. All right.
I keep going.
All right. So what the next question I have is, what challenges have you seen people face with networking? And I know we've addressed some of those things, and whether it's in person or on Facebook, from your experience, and we just talked about what are the benefits that you've seen people have, but what are some of the challenges, and what do you recommend that how they respond to them?
I think one of the challenges I see is people don't know what to say. So they show up at a live event and they introduce themselves. They're not sure. When somebody says, what do you do? They don't know what to say. Now, I'm not a big fan of this thing called an elevator speech. Your 30-second or your 20-second elevator speech. That means that we get on an elevator on the first floor, that we should be able to tell someone what we do by the time that it gets to their floor. I don't know how we know how many floors they're going, but that always felt very contrived to me. And who wants to have that done to them in the first place? That's why people don't make eye contact in elevators. They're afraid somebody's going to start talking to them about something like that. So, but I do think you need to get clear.
Hey, I'm a coach for heart-based entrepreneurs. I
just like beam me up, Scotty. Get me out of here right now. And so I think it is good to prepare, to start to practice when someone says, what do you do? To start to develop that in a short, but don't make, you don't have to do the same thing every time. If you give a spiel, there is no dialogue. It's a monologue. So when someone asks you something, answer in a short give a short answer so they can again ask a question, or you could then ask them a question. That's how you get to know people. But often people would just kind of spout everything that they do and why you should do it. And that's exhausting, as we know. And you also don't know what they know about what you do already. So it's good to just give the short answer, or maybe ask them a question, or and start to gauge this interest, this mutual interest in what each other's doing. So that's one of the first things I see people struggle with.
I'm gonna interrupt you because I'm gonna correlate that to Facebook briefly while you're thinking about all this. So what I see on Facebook, I do think there are some people who struggle with what to post. I think sometimes there's a perfectionist thing going on for some people. Maybe that's the case in person. And so you just have to, I don't know if there's another way besides just do it and realize that you're going to be okay, because that's just a fear, and you could possibly address that, because I know you have to work with people around that. But also what you just said about the whole spiel, one of the things I don't like, on the first day of the challenge, we did introductions, and people do this long introduction. And on Saturdays in the Facebook group, everybody gets to post about me. And I know, I will imagine some people will do some long thing about me. And it's hard to read. It's hard to get through. It doesn't invite the conversation. Like you're saying, if it's just a few sentences, a paragraph, maybe two, that allows us to read it easily, get a sense of who that person is, and then possibly comment on that, great. Otherwise, it's like, I know there's some people will read some long things, but
yeah. That reminded me of an in-person thing that I did a number of years ago, and I had just changed. I guess in 2000, I created a new tagline for my business, which is connecting women around the world to their gifts, their purpose, and each other. I was at a networking event that was not mine. It was a big event with probably 15 round tables, 8 women at each table, and the guests got to stand up and give a really short introduction to the room. And all I did was stand up and say, "Hi, I'm Ginny Robertson, president of Ginny Robertson LLC, and the mission of my company is to connect women around the world to their gifts, their purpose, and each other." And I heard this collective around the room. Now, that was the first time I'd spoken it out loud. There were women lined up at the end of that meeting asking me how I do that. I could have stood there and told them how I did it, and then they would have started to check out because it was too long. They start to lose interest. But instead, I intrigued them enough that they then wanted to know how I did it. And so, it's a great tagline. Come up with something that will just grab people, and then they want to know more. Because you don't ever want to do a monologue, because people will glaze over and try to act polite, and they've stopped listening, 2 minutes ago, or stopped reading.
Exactly. All right. So other challenges that let's address a couple more.
Okay. I think finding the right group to go to is challenging, and you do have to try them out and then trust your gut. But don't go to a group and go, I like this group, and go back, like Kathryn said, 2 more times and say, well, I didn't get any business, so I'm not going again. That takes time. And if you go with the intention of getting business, you're probably not going to get any, because again, you're going to have that desperate sort of energy about you that says, I want something from you, which is not real. Let's see, other challenges.
So I'm gonna again with Facebook, because I think that what shifted for me 3 to 6 months ago is when the whole how to network on Facebook thing came to me, was the decision to just go into approximately 5 groups a day, approximately, and I see them now as a networking meeting.
Okay.
People have gathered just like they do in in-person networking meetings, and I go and I read or hear, listen, it's the same kind of thing, and then comment, and then those connections built. But and I'm not sure that all 5 of the groups that I go to right now are the ones that I'm going to continue with. But my point is, on Facebook, you've got to do the same thing as you do in person. You got to find that group or groups that you're going to really stick to, and stick to them. So,
and don't Don't start asking yourself, well, why hasn't anybody gotten in touch with me yet? 3 weeks into doing it. It is about consistency. There's so much chatter out there. So people have to see you over and over again until they start to recognize you. Then they start to look forward to what you're posting. And that's how relationships start.
Mm-hmm. So so I know there was another challenge that you were going to speak
I was thinking if there was one. Let me think. Challenges.
So let me just read some of these, and if something comes to you, this is
Great.
something that someone posted. For me, the greatest challenge is finding groups where my ideal client is the majority of the membership.
Okay, that's going to take some research. Maybe find people who have the same ideal clients you do and ask them where they go. And some people may go, well, why would they share that with me? Because we're not in competition, we're in collaboration. And they may very well share that with you. So find out where they go. How do they get their clients? Show up. If none of your clients are there, then that's probably not for me. But how are you going to know that on one trip? Unless you run around and do what Kathryn and I just told you not to do. You're not going to know your first trip in. I think that we get a sense when we walk in the door of any event, whether it's for us or not. Would you agree with that, Kathryn? Just almost an immediate sense of, is this for me? And then give it a chance and try it. So even if it's intriguing and you felt comfortable there, but you don't know if your clients are there yet, go back and try it and see, because it may be a great place to practice. It may be a great place to meet people who, while they may not be your ideal client, know someone who is. So it's really hard to just eliminate things right off the top. You've got to do some work. Again, research and ask around and try.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with all of the things that you just said. And on Facebook, what's so cool is that pretty much everybody on the planet is on Facebook. Not everybody. My mom and my sister are not. So, but if you Google, if you search on Facebook with key terms from your area or about those people, you'll see if there are groups and you can try them out.
Mm-hmm.
And you may find something that's related. Like there's one of the people in our group, I hope she's okay with me sharing this, said that her ideal clients are women engineers and moms on a leadership track. She's very specific, and I doubt if there are any other engineers in the Heart-Based Entrepreneur group. So that's a group where she can network with us, and we may know people,
right?
Women entrepreneurs who are moms on a leadership track. But in that case, that type of a situation, I bring it up because I'm sure other people have similar kinds of challenging specific niches, I don't know how to say that word. Anyway, they can search, and she may go to an engineer group and just build relationships with the women in there. Mm-hmm. And then ultimately she may decide to create her own mom engineers or engineers who are moms group, mm-hmm. and start her own thing that way. I don't recommend that everybody start a group just because everybody else is doing it. But definitely if you've got that kind of a situation, consider it. But what's nice about going into other people's groups is you do not have to manage it, and you can just network, because managing can be a pain. Both Ginny and I can attest to well, for me, I don't like to delete posts, but you know what? I do now, and I've got my rules. So, and I don't like being like that. And so it takes a certain kind of mindset to run a group. But yeah. Anyway, that came to me. Do you have any anything else you want to add to that?
Well, don't forget about meetup groups, because meetup groups are very much more affinity based usually, like, women who blah, blah, blah. Well, if you serve women who blah, 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 then, you may want to check out one of the meetup groups, and there's much less of a risk there because often they're free. Often they're close in your community. So just go in and start to search around on Meetup and see if there's anything in place already that may harbor some of your ideal clients.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. That's a great idea. Love Meetup. All right, here's another one that I think we can briefly address. Initially, as an introvert, it's hard for me to feel comfortable walking into a new group of people and knowing what to say. So what is your recommendation with that, Ginny?
Go with someone. Ask a friend to go with you so you don't have to walk in alone. One of the things I tell women who are not comfortable doing that is the moment you go in, look around, see if there's a woman or a man, it doesn't have to be a woman if it's a mixed group, who is alone, standing alone, and walk over and just say hi. And ask a question. Say, have you been here before? You have to be deep. Is this do you belong to this group? Because what will happen is that person may be standing there because they don't know anybody and they don't have anybody to talk to, and now you've just come over and rescued them. And now you get to have a conversation. And let's say you do that with another person, then take that person and go introduce them to the person you just met, because now you're the connector, and it makes it easier for you to do both of those things. But I always say, the longer you wait to go up to that first person, the harder it gets. It does not get easier. And believe me, if you walk into a room and it looks like everybody knows everybody and everybody is already in conversation, it's usually not true. It's just that they're engaging often just as uncomfortable as you are, but they've just made themselves do it. Walk up to a group. If there's a group of people talking, just walk up and stand there. You don't have to barge in. Don't say anything. Just kind of stand on the fringes and listen to what they're talking about. Usually, if there's somebody who's paying attention, they will kind of tell you, come on in, or hi, who are you, or something like that. So, just do something when you walk in the door. If you do go with a friend, it's great because you don't have to show up alone, but don't stick with your friend all night either, because then you haven't done anything different than what you usually do.
So I've done the second two things, Jenny, as an introvert. In general, I haven't gone to things with a friend. I love doing things by myself. But to network, it was always scary. So I've learned to look for a person who's standing there by themselves and initiate a conversation with, an easy question. How are you doing today? Or what brought you here? Or something like that. And off the conversation, most of the time it goes, unless both people are super, 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 super shy and awkward. And then it's harder until you talk to somebody who actually, is comfortable. But most of the time, that's it. Off it goes. So thank you for that. I think that with regard to Facebook groups and what to do if you're feeling shy is the thing that we've been doing in the challenge, which is read other people's posts and respond to them.
Yes.
And, if you're not comfortable posting, you will grow a network if you read other people's posts and respond. Because if you keep doing that with the same people, they'll start to know who you are. And I'll, if it's me, I'll start to go, I wonder who that person is. I love what they say. Or boy, she's shown up over and over again. Who is this person? And then I'll go and I'll look at and find out more about you. So that works.
Just to add to that, both I think online and in person, whether you're shy or not, we love talking about ourselves. Don't you love it when somebody asks you a question? Even if you're not quite sure how to answer it, it's like, oh, they're interested in me. And so think about it from the other perspective. You're giving other people an opportunity to talk about themselves. You've commented on their post and they get to come back and now say something else. So it's just another way of engaging, but people usually love it. They're not going, oh, why is she bothering me, with her comment. So just, and I love what Kathryn says, just practice. It's a way to practice. And you'll be the one doing the post and getting the comments.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So just a few more, because I'm starting to go, blah, my brain is doing like, you need to take a break here. So just a couple more things here. Dealing with the distractions on Facebook, I think you've already addressed that a bit, Ginny. I've talked about setting a timer. You talked about the discipline. If you want to grow a business, you need to be disciplined. Is there anything else that you'd like to say about that?
I actually have a list of everything I want to do on Facebook every day. And I just go through the checklist because, within my group, there are certain things that I do every day within the group. There's a certain way I want to post on my pages, certain way I want to post on my personal page, certain things I want to go into other groups and do. So I just have a standard list of that and stick to it. And I don't always, sometimes I've got, 20 minutes in the morning before I have to get out to go to something, and I'll do what I can. I'll do what I think are the most important, really the things I've committed to someone else to do, especially if you run a group and you're telling people on these days we're going to do this, then I need to do those. I think this may sound kind of silly. I think it's a big deal to say happy birthday to people on Facebook. And here's why. I remember saying, going on somebody's page, I didn't know her, and said happy birthday. And a bit later that day, she tagged me, and I went over to see why she tagged me. And she had tagged everybody who had wished her happy birthday. I didn't realize she had less than 100 friends on Facebook. And she said, I woke up this morning not even sure why I was on the planet. Oh. And then I got these Facebook messages, and I was like, whoa, really? Made a difference. Now, it's not going to be that drastic all the time, but just a simple, Facebook makes it very easy to do, just a simple happy birthday. Again, just that one more thing that says, I'm thinking about somebody else other than myself.
Well, Ginny, I just want to say two things about that. One is I can't believe that you keep doing that, because I just think to myself, I could never do that, just to say. And two, as a recipient of it, I'm very appreciative. It's like I get a lot of happy birthdays because I know a lot of people, but I think to myself before my birthday, oh, I know Ginny's going to acknowledge my birthday. And you do it in the big group, and I go, I think people are going to see that it's my birthday. I swear to God, I think about that. So,
oh, that's great.
I may not want to do it, but I think that's a really cool thing that you do. As long as you're happy doing it, go for it.
Well, it's interesting because I started out doing it because I thought it would be a really nice thing to do. And what I've realized over the years is it will often bring people into the group who haven't been there for a long time, because I'm tagging them and they're showing up, and it's like, oh, I forgot about this group. So it's not totally selfless. It started out totally selfless, but it's just another way to keep people engaged. And another way to get other people an opportunity to engage. So
that's interesting. The next thing that someone commented in the group was, people tend to start out really enthusiastic and active, and keeping them engaged and active is difficult. And as group leaders, that's our job to help that. And it is challenging. As I look at the Facebook networking challenge, I'm over here thinking to myself, well, I wonder how many of these people will continue once they stop getting emails from me. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, maybe I'll do another Facebook challenge, in 3 months. Maybe I'll end up doing it quarterly so that I'm consistently feeding the group and, building that enthusiasm. But, so this particular person I think who posted this is very enthusiastic and stays on it. And I'm guessing underneath what she wrote is feeling abandoned, which, if you're a group member and you're participating and then other people leave, it feels, I'm maybe projecting onto her, but it feels like people have abandoned you. Mm-hmm. I mean, as the group leader, it's more like it's a task for me of how to figure out how to keep the group lively and engaged. But any thoughts about that?
I think it is a big challenge to keep people engaged, and I think part of the challenge is because people overcommit. They'll come in and they'll go, oh yeah, I've got time to do this group, and they don't realize that it does take time, or that, oh, these aren't just regular questions. I have to actually think about these answers. This isn't just cutting and pasting from some other group and putting it over here. I have to actually bring myself here. So as a group leader, I know you and I've talked recently about some ways to up the engagement in my group with some different types of questions, but we also just can't expect everybody to participate. They just don't, and they won't. And how many people have joined groups? You'd probably be amazed if you all go on your group list and see how many groups you're a member of that you don't even remember. And just get rid of them, just because I would rather have 200 people in a group being active than, I've got over 6,000 in my big group, and I have no idea how many people. But I know on a regular day, probably 50, 75 people might be engaging. Right. That's okay, because it's real engagement.
Right.
And so I think that if I go into a group and everybody's excited and then I'm the only one left excited, then maybe it's not the group for me. It's too bad. But I don't think there's a whole lot we can do about that, even as group people. We give it the best shot we can, but we can't please everybody. We can't make people do things. So
Isn't that the truth? Oh my
we think
goodness.
we can sometimes, but really we can't.
Absolutely. We cannot control people. They're
Mhm.
going to do whatever they're going to do. All we can
Yeah,
do is what we do. Oh my Lord, this has been so much fun, Jenny.
it has.
And I don't know where I'm going to put this. I know I'm going to send it out as an email, but I think I'm also going to post it in the group. And that feels like it would be a useful thing to do. And I'm going to put it on YouTube. I'm not sure where I want people to comment about what they learn out of it, but anywhere, folks, wherever you see this, if there's a place to comment, share, your observations, your learnings, your ahas about it, because I think this has just been absolutely filled with useful stuff to help us be motivated to network and things to learn how to do it. So, Jenny, any closing thoughts you want to add to this?
Just do it. Just do something. Do something. And stop talking about how you don't like it, you don't know how to do it. Just pick something and do it. So at least you know what to expect. Because often, we make up stories about things we haven't even experienced yet, or make up fears. And maybe you went to a crummy networking group. Give another one a shot. Just do something. I think you'll be rewarded for it.
Well, so thank you so much, Jenny. And
You're so welcome.
And I want to say thank you to all of you who are part of this Facebook networking challenge. And you have just been brilliant and wonderful and a delight to get to know. And I am so looking forward to continuing to get to know you as we move forward in the Heart-Based Entrepreneur Group. And I really, really, really want to encourage you to make a commitment to stay in that group for anywhere from 3 months to a year, just to see what happens over time. I'm going to recommend really minimum 6 months, just to keep doing what I'm teaching through the challenge and with the daily posts, and just see what happens. Because as Jenny just said, you only get it, you discover it by doing it. So I look forward to seeing you there if it is your group for you, or one of your groups. So namaste, everyone.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.